a lot of people don't like to talk about, but are faced with having to, the reality of having to deal with a end-of-life product. For most of you, you've probably already seen or heard that the product is going to be end-of-lifed July 14th, 2015. So for all of us, we have something that we really do need to take care of. So for our agenda today, a little overview of the Server 2003 end-of-life timeline. What does that end-of-life mean? The risks associated with end-of-life, a migration roadmap, what's available, how can we get on top of this, how can we get some direction, what the actual migration process looks like, what are the benefits of the migration, along with some of the risks, what kind of resources are available for the migration, whether it's through a partner or whether it's through Microsoft, and then just a few short notes about CLH and Microsoft and our next steps. So Windows Server 2003, officially dead, July 14, 2015. What does that really mean? No extensions, no patches, no updates, no nothing. And that is truly going to be the situation, just like other products from Microsoft that have been end-of-lifed. Once they're removed, once they're obsolete, all the associated products that go with them generally become obsolete as well. So if you are on Server 2003, what can you expect to, what kind of risks and what kind of challenges can you expect if you choose not to migrate? Of course, there's going to be increased security threats. Those are constantly coming, and just in 2013 alone, 37 different security threats were identified and addressed. That will no longer happen after July 14th. So if you're on legacy equipment, you're on a Server 2003, you'll now be susceptible to potential threats. And those could also mean potential loss of business. Customers and clients and vendors and suppliers may not want to do business if you don't have a IT compliant server. So loss of business, loss of productivity, an increasingly unstable OS as more and more threats come in onto the software from outside. You may even lose some functionality because of instability in the OS. Of course, there's hardware obsolescence. Some of these servers have been running for far over their designed life. 5 to 7 years is usually the time frame for this type of server, and some of them have been in the, we've seen them in the environments now for almost a decade. Maintenance costs, applications, everything that's on them now presently will not be supported, and it'll be very tough to find companies that will do that legacy maintenance work. If you can find them who will do it, it will be very sporadic, and it won't be a full fix. It'll be a very specific fix to keep your system maybe up and running, but it certainly won't be an enterprise-wide fix for your 2003 server. How can this affect you and your business? Once again, you're at the higher risk of a security threat. I don't know anybody today who really wants to invite that kind of a problem. There's a whole industry built around security today. Intrusion prevention is one of our hottest topics today when we talk about how to keep things safe, secure, compliant in the cloud, and that goes across a lot of different business models. Associated applications will not be supported with the end-of-life Server 2003. Suppliers and vendors may be effective. Banking, healthcare, payroll transactions, invoicing systems, the purchasing and quoting systems. I know many vendors, contractors, small houses, retail establishments that use specific types of software that run on Server 2003. They are not going to be compliant, and they are going to have to do something to be compliant as far as PCI credit card orders, anything to do with financial institutions. And then, of course, there's the most basic stuff, email functionality. Hopefully, email will work for a while without any issues. But as more and more threats come down, you will become more and more susceptible to threats, hacks, intrusions, disruptions. And these are things you can't really plan for. They will affect your business, and nobody wants their email server disrupted or down. It would cause a tremendous amount of problems in the basic productivity of people every day. So we would suggest that, take a hard look at the potential risks that failing to migrate introduce to your systems. So migration, we've already talked a little bit about the risks. Now we can talk about some of the benefits. So you can protect systems through migration. System infrastructure can be in several different configurations. There's a physical server upgrade to 2012, Server 2012 R2. That can be done on a physical server, virtual server, cloud server. And all those selections are things that you have the opportunity to choose and investigate. Microsoft Azure hosted cloud storage solution. It's one of our newest solutions we're going to be delivering. We use it ourselves. We're going to be starting to push more and more data and more of our clients' data into the cloud. Of course, Office 365 hosted cloud solution. It's software as a service, and it's available subscription-based license. We use this exclusively at CLH, and matter of fact, I'm on it right now, working remotely from Tampa, Florida, and doing exactly what our new version of Office is supposed to do. It's supposed to increase collaboration, productivity, any place, anywhere, any device, and store all this information in the cloud. So benefits of migration also include improved performance. You're going to be working off of an optimized platform to deliver software as a service. Reduce maintenance. Responsibility of service providers is to maintain all of their back end, any of their hosted cloud platforms. Increased agility, tightly integrated suite of products and suite of developers. Developers are building products for this migration as we speak. There's AppZero, which one of the products that we use. There's other products, other tools that are being developed to make these migrations faster, more automated, less time-consuming, because we really are on a timeline to end of life. Increased responsiveness to business globally. These solutions and this migration are going to happen not just in the U.S., but across the globe. This is a very big paradigm shift from where we were to where we're going. Increased productivity. It's an always on, it's always current, it's always the latest version, and it's always secure. So that's the benefit of having a migration, even a totally hosted migration, gives you the benefits of all those things we just talked about. Increased collaboration inside at least the Office 365 migration and tool. You're going to find SharePoint, Skype for Business, formerly Lync, and several other applications that work very well on the hosted platform. Increased security. Real-time intrusion prevention and security updates being monitored real-time, being updated real-time, protecting your data. That's what it's about. That's what a hosted cloud solution is supposed to do for you. Take away the costs, take away the administration, leave the most decision-making to you, and all of the back end, the heavy lifting, are done by the service provider. And that translates into less costs. A lot of server hardware is going to be reduced or eliminated through this migration, unless you're absolutely necessary that you have to have a server on-prem or a server in a secure area because of compliance or because company policy. Yes, it's definitely an upgrade or a roadmap upgrade to a physical hosted server. But that place could be in a closet, it could be co-located in a data center, someplace that's at least secure and will work for you for the foreseeable future. So it's best to have a good plan to migrate. And this, by the numbers, is probably the simplest way to do it. One, it's a discovery process where we're going to take all the information where everything is. We're going to catalog it. We're going to look at all the software that's working now presently and any of the workloads running on Windows in that 2003 version. Then what we'll do is assess and categorize where things will need to go and what architectures we're going to use to get them there. We'll target those particular places, whether it's the cloud, whether it's hybrid solution, whether it's a physical server, and make our selections based upon our needs. And then after we've done all that and put that plan together, then it's time to actually put the migration into action and move the data. So there's a great tool, and we've used it, and we recommend that all our clients take a peek at it. It's the Planning Assistant from Microsoft. It's actually called Windows Server 2003 Migration Planning Assistant, and the URL is right there where you can go and look at that, and that's part of the slide deck. So feel free to jump on that, run through it a couple of times with different configurations, see how the configurations line up for you, and then get together with a professional or a team or a partner. We're a partner, CLH is actually a partner, that could sit down and talk to you intelligently about the pros and cons of each individual configuration that you might be interested in. What the costs are, what the benefits are, what the migration time frame looks like, what's the safest way, what's the least complex way, and any point in between that you might particularly want to know about. So that's more of a deep dive on the migration, and our presentation today is going to stay a little bit at 30,000 feet, so we can get through this in the time frame allotted. So after you've decided that you want to migrate, you now have to pick your targets. What am I going to migrate 2003 Server to? And this is just for demonstration purposes. This is the typical stack of what we would suggest is Azure for your data storage, Office 365 for your applications, and then Windows Server 2012 either as a hosted or as a physical server. And where that location is really up to you, the client. So of course you're going to prioritize all the workloads, which ones need to move first, which are essential ones. Identify applications that migrate easily so that there's less complexity in a migration. Plan for applications that are challenging to migrate. Some of the configurations and some of the workloads we see may require one workload to be transferred in succession to another. There has to be an orderly transition and an orderly succession. That can be all determined in the discovery process. Of course, we're going to consider retiring any outmoded applications, any physical servers that need to be decommed and retired, and assign your workloads to target servers, physical or virtualized. Once you have that plan down, then you can start to get real costing numbers. So until things are actually pretty much in the planning tool, it'll be hard for anybody to really nail down exactly what the costs may be to do the migration and the time frames. How long will it take? And this is a very subjective question. It depends on size and scale of your organization. This recent, we pulled this off a recent research. According to HP, there are 11 million Server 2003 systems still in operation in the United States and will need to be migrated. We have 57 days to do it. The average for migrating a 100-server organization can take as low as 3 and as high as 18 months in time, depending on complexities. Smaller migrations would take proportionately less time and resources. So start planning as soon as possible. If there's one thing you take away from this right now, is to look at that migration tool and start thinking about how long it's going to take, what the process is, where do I want to get to. Server migration process, this is a little bit more simplified, but it kind of goes with our 4-step approach earlier. It's pre-migration, it's the prep, all the data gathering, the ordering of the steps, preparing destination servers, and preparing your source server. And that's more with the application tools, is getting those lined up. Then there's the actual migration. Migration can happen at the same time that service is still working. You don't have to lose any of your capabilities during a migration. It can happen in the background. There's quite a few tools available to do that. We don't talk about any of the tools in depth in this presentation, but we can do that offline if anybody needs to talk about what the tools can be used that are used to do the migration. Once the migration is done, of course, there's the post-migration. There's the test and backup to make sure everything is good. If there's any kind of problems, we would loop through this and go and do the troubleshooting. Sometimes it does happen. A migration looks like it's good, but on the back end, after we turn it all up, some things just don't work right. So there is a test and acceptance portion on the back end to make sure that everything's working exactly the way it should be. So commandlets are small work files that get work done. These are some of the most common commandlets, and they're used by administrators, migration administrators, to move that data around, move those files around, copy the files, set locations, and those are particular to the process, the project management of a migration. So there's 200 core basic ones, and then there's a whole slew of custom and specific ones that administrators use to automate processes. And there's still time to get started. So for anybody who's having anxiety over this, there's still 55 days. And that doesn't seem like a whole lot of time, but if you're a small organization, you can get done in a rather quick period of time, but you have to really focus. July 14th is not far away. Support will end. Will your systems just fall down? Probably not. But I would expect some sort of increased activity after that date by people who know that it's susceptible to threats. So you have to really cross your fingers and hope that if you're not finished with a migration, that you've at least planned for it, maybe even started it, and hopefully you can finish it before or within a short period of time after July 14th. You can beat the deadline. If there's anybody in the audience today who really thinks they have to do something immediately, please reach out and give us a call. We'll be more than happy to discuss it in detail and get you on the road to success. But you can safely migrate from 2003 without additional risk, even as late as today. So, you know, it's time to get moving if this is something you've been sitting on the fence about. So, to conclude, 2003 ends in 55 days. Staying on Windows Server 2003 is both risky and could be very costly. I use that word sparingly. I don't say that often, but we've seen in other places where people stayed on legacy equipment, and after a certain period of time, they wished they didn't. And then we just ramped them all up on new equipment. And That's primarily because of cost. They're trying to stretch the expenditure as long as possible. And then they wind up with even bigger problems because they should have done it, they knew they should have did it, and it wasn't done on time. So every organization has their own priorities. Hopefully migration is one of yours. Staying on Server 2003 non-compliant. So that's probably going to be your first roadblock within a few weeks, is people who haven't migrated are going to start seeing that their certificates are not valid. They're going to start getting error messages. They're going to get calls from their vendors and their suppliers and their clients requesting that they upgrade. Office 365 is a very familiar application. It increases productivity, scale, and mobility, and it is a pretty good place. At first, when we first decided to do it ourselves, there was a little consternation, there was a little bit of pushback, but eventually everybody is, very satisfied with transitioning to hosted solutions. And we do this as a managed service company as well, and we have to do it for clients. So we're becoming very pro-hosted cloud solution, managed service provider. And we think that that's where the industry's trending. We're going to see more and more products arriving that way, more and more business being done that way. And I don't think we're going to see a return to silos or on-prem solutions anytime soon. I don't see that as a long-term strategy. So migrating to Windows Azure is a really enterprise-level data storage solution. These are things that are very important for business continuity and disaster planning. So migrating to Server 2012 R2 is safe and compliant. So if you do a lot of retail transactions, banking, financial institutions, anything like that, Server 2003 will not be compliant for your needs in the future. Migrating to a cloud-based environment provides economy of scale. That is the biggest advantage, and it's not the most apparent. We've found out, through experience, that this is just working out better than we ever expected it would. And it works out for distributed, mobile, classrooms, conferencing. Anybody, anyplace, anywhere can use these solutions based upon their hosted cloud platforms. And you should take advantage of this opportunity to migrate prior to July 14th. Like I said earlier, there's plenty of time to sit down, start planning, get the influencers, the decision makers to come in and take a look at this, and put your plan together, get it started, and successfully migrate your organization over in a way that is pleasurable. It should be something that is part of doing business rather than to be a crisis type of event. There's no need for it. So let's see. Sorry about that. So here's our contacts. CLH International Incorporated is a 35-year company. We've been around 35 years building computers, networks, and solutions for business, government, and education. So if you found today's webinar useful, please reach out, use the chat box, send us a contact at sales@clh.com, or give us a call at 480-829-1350. You can ask for Howard Cho, or you can ask for myself, Steve Bacher. We'll take the call, and we'll answer any questions that you may have. So that concludes our webinar.